Today I am going to make Ruben casserole. This was such a hit the other day with our family. We had this a few days ago and we actually have enough of the corned beef left over to make it again. Now the recipe in the Weight Watchers book did call for 1 cup of cooked potatoes, but what I like to do is just go ahead and do my own potatoes. We prefer the red potatoes. We like the waxy potatoes for some reason as opposed to the russets. These are just some red potatoes that we have. We eat these all of the time. Make it easier on yourself and steam those in the microwave so they are nice and tender. They are going to be cooked in the casserole. Since it is a casserole dish, it's going to go back into the oven. Okay, got a bowl of potatoes. I will add a little bit of water to that, cover them, and steam them in the microwave until they are completely done. While the potatoes are cooking, I'll go ahead and chop up the onion. The onion, woo, is kind of an integral part of this dish. It adds a lot of bulk. My cutting board was a Christmas gift. Thin slices on the onion. Make quick work of your onion. Get it in a pan. These can go into a dry pan. I use cast iron. I do use a small cast iron pan. I love my little size. It's great to cook with, especially my onions. It's easy to cook with. It's easy to clean. Caraway seeds going in. They are essential to the flavor. If you don't like them, feel free to leave them out. Brown up your onions while everything else is cooking. This is the casserole dish, so it's super, super easy. Today we are going to add a little bit of carrots. My daughter loves carrots, and I think it just ups the nutritional value. Again, I'm using a little bit of a cheat, help from the store. I'm going to pick through these shredded carrots, get out anything that I'm not real happy about. I'm going to run the knife through the carrots just to give them a little bit of a chop. I don't want them too stringy. I'm probably going to even throw these in with the onions. Wow, they're all over the place while the onion's cooking, just to soften them up a little bit. There's no sense in waiting, so I'm going to go ahead and chop up some scallion. There's onion in this dish already, but I do like a little more color. The little one did request more onion. She likes her vegetables, and she's just shy of being a vegetarian, so onions are something that she enjoys. We take the bottoms of the scallions actually and plant them. They grow, the tops of them regrow, so we kind of have perpetual onions at this point. These are from the last few days. Stick them down in the dirt and you'll have onions forever. We do buy them at the store because we eat them faster than they grow. As the onions are heating up, they do start to release their aroma. The caraway seeds are releasing their smell. They smell a little bit like licorice, little fennel smell. They are delicious. I do keep everything staged on my cutting board as much as possible. Here are those onions kind of cooked down. Everything's kind of happy. I'm going to throw in the carrots and let them go for just a few minutes so they're tender. Delicious. Another way to save yourself some time is just to keep working ahead. I have the onions going in the pan. You might hear it sizzling. I also have the potatoes in the microwave. And now I'm going to follow through with the one solitary piece of rye bread. This recipe called for rye bread. I bought the entire loaf and was so excited and found it only used one piece. The original recipe called for pulsing this in a food processor. I was not so thrilled with that last time. The rye bread adds that Ruben sandwich feel. The recipe originally called for removing the crust, and I don't see a lot of sense in that. Seems like an extra step, and I'm going to save myself the time and the worry. The crust didn't seem to take away or harm the recipe. I have a jarred sauerkraut. Not in the can, but in a jar. So this one doesn't have a lot of juice, actually, not sauce. The recipe called for 8 ounces, but we like sauerkraut so much, so I'm actually putting 12 ounces of sauerkraut in it. Our family just really enjoys it, so it's not going to harm anything. For low-fat corned beef. I live in a little town, and we don't have things like that here. So I was very lucky to even find corned beef where I live, unfortunately. They did have in the deli, where they cut the meat for you, Boar's Head brand corned beef. So I plugged it into the recipe builder, no problem. You're going to chop that into little cubes. I will add, if you cut the pieces too small, they kind of get lost with the sauerkraut. There are so many rich flavors, the sauerkraut, the onion, the caraway seeds. The cheese is mild. You don't really notice it as much, but the sauerkraut can overpower the corned beef. So if it's too small, you will miss that. So I do recommend larger pieces, just whatever you prefer. Now for the part that is the key to everything, and I guess just the stupid easy part. The caramelized onions, caraway seeds, and this time the carrots go from the cast iron straight into the casserole. Yes, we like a little caramelization on the onions. It gives them a little more flavor. You can see all that's mixed in. Toss in the corned beef. Everybody into the tub, basically. In goes the 12 ounces of sauerkraut. Don't panic, it will get mixed up quite well. Your 1 potato. I use 2 medium potatoes here. Give it a little body, and we just liked it. Okay. Now everything gets mixed well. Make sure that you break up the clumps of sauerkraut. This holds together well as a true casserole. You can actually cut it into slices. I couldn't believe that. I thought it would be crumbly in texture, but it's not. I think the cheese and the breadcrumbs just bring it all together. Get everything kind of even, as much as all the lumps and bumps can be. Try to make sure that the sides of your casserole dish have the contents pushed down. It will burn. Then you're going to top it with 6 slices of the extra thin provolone, or whatever cheese you want. This goes into the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. Make sure your cheese is nice and melted. And here is the finished product. Right out of the oven. Delicious. The cheese has melted. The toast or the bread on top is a little crispy. This will reheat perfectly. Fat-free Thousand Island made into it. I wasn't exactly keen on the idea of baking that into the casserole, so we actually put the Thousand Island on it individually as we serve it. That way it's kind of fresh and it's not lost within the heat of the casserole. So now, hope you enjoy.